December 26th, 2025. This Russian soldier, who was being pursued by the drone, was also patrolling the very edge of the Ukrainian defense position in the Pokrovsk region. The Russian soldier, whose reason for being there was unclear, became the drone's target, although he tried to flee immediately upon noticing the rapidly approaching drone. He was unable to do so. But suddenly, the FPV drone operator changed targets. Noticing another Russian soldier on a motorcycle approaching from behind, the operator quickly maneuvered and went after the other soldier this time. This time, the Ukrainian FPV drone is chasing a Russian soldier riding an ATV. The drone quickly moves in for the attack, targeting the soldier. The soldier notices the drone at the last moment and jumps off the vehicle, but fails to escape. This is the Lyman region, and the Ukrainian Signum Battalion has carried out attacks targeting Russian soldiers in the area one by one. Look at the situation of the Russian soldiers. They are all truly in a difficult situation and are generally standing alone on the front lines. But why did Russian forces start using a tactic where soldiers are simply sent to the front instead of building trenches? A Ukrainian fiber optic drone moving quickly along a logistics route soon detected a Russian military vehicle. The Russian military vehicle drove directly in front of the drone, rendering the target ineffective. You can see the soldier trying to jump out of the vehicle at the last moment. Of course, the attacks don't end there. The ammunition and military equipment left behind by Russian soldiers in open areas were destroyed one by one. But what's interesting here is that Russian forces constantly leave their military equipment in open areas. This situation allows Ukrainian forces to turn it to their advantage and launch relentless attacks. But why are Russian forces randomly leaving behind the ammunition and equipment they brought to the front lines? And why are there no Russian soldiers around? Are these things being randomly left in the area by vehicles? A Ukrainian FPV drone detected a Russian soldier and launched an attack. Look at the area where the soldier is located. There is nowhere to escape. The soldier, who kept circling to escape the drone, couldn't get away from it. The FPV drone operator kept the soldier under close surveillance. The Russian soldier managed to escape the attack several times by sheer luck. The soldier, who didn't even have a weapon to shoot at the drone, ultimately couldn't escape being hit by it. This soldier was truly in a helpless situation. Look at the situation on the front line. Winter conditions now prevail across the entire front. Everything is covered in snow. A soldier who thought he was hidden under a tree in these harsh frontline conditions came under attack from Ukraine. The Russian soldier spotted the drone at the last moment, but it was too late to react. Look at the Russian soldiers targeted by drones again. As usual, they are wandering around the front line alone, using an incomprehensible tactic. Keep a close eye on the Russian soldiers. This soldier, who is trying to fill a bottle with fuel after coming out from his hiding place, will soon be attacked by an FPV drone. One soldier was the target of the first attack. The other soldier, who was trying to escape, also did not survive the second drone attack. This time, a Russian soldier hiding in the garage of an abandoned house was detected. Immediately, a drone carrying high explosives launched an attack. The Russian soldier was unable to escape from the building, destroyed by the force of the explosion. An FPV drone conducting reconnaissance in the Donetsk region is searching for Russian soldiers. Look at the kilometers-long trenches and positions belonging to Russian forces. These areas are completely unprotected and defenseless. Russian soldiers are trapped here. The FPV drone operator, who continued to search the area, soon managed to spot Russian soldiers walking outside the trenches. The Russian soldiers who appeared directly in front of the drone were not in a position to defend themselves. Upon closer inspection, the soldiers did not move, even though they noticed the drone. They thought that as long as they did not move, the drone would not notice them. Russian forces advancing toward Ukrainian defense positions in an armored military vehicle encountered Ukrainian defenses. The armored infantry carrier BMP vehicle, which lost its mobility after the first attack, was dealt the final blow by an FPV drone. At this point, Russian soldiers began to get out of the vehicle and flee. The armored vehicle was completely destroyed by the drone attack. The Russian soldiers were then pursued by drones. They entered an abandoned and dilapidated building in the nearest area. The drone attacks have started again. 2 drone attacks carrying very powerful explosives were carried out in quick succession. None of the Russian soldiers trapped in a tiny area managed to escape. This time, there are 2 Russian soldiers in the crosshairs. The soldiers, spotted in the Donetsk region, began to flee when they noticed the drone. However, there was nowhere for them to hide. The FPV drone operator targeted one soldier and attempted to find a suitable position for the attack. Although the soldiers were armed, they did not fire at the drone. In the end, one of the soldiers became the drone's target. Are Russian forces no longer able to supply ammunition to the front? Ukrainian soldiers are attempting to shoot down a Russian-shaded drone with a heavy machine gun. Does anyone know exactly what this weapon is? Before long, they actually managed to shoot down the drone, which was quite far away. The Ukrainian 3rd Assault Brigade launched a major offensive in the Donetsk, Pokrovsk, and Sumy regions. Over the course of a week, more than 100 drones targeted Russian military vehicles and soldiers. In most attacks, soldiers became targets while trying to return to their trenches. Russian military vehicles were neutralized on the roads they were traveling on to provide logistical support to the region. Not only that, but artillery units located in Russian positions were also eliminated. These attacks show that control of the front lines now lies with drones. But do you think Russia is developing serious technology to counter these attacks? Or will these losses continue to increase? Russian military vehicles and personnel preparing for an attack were detected in the Donetsk region. Ukrainian FPV operators immediately attacked the vehicles advancing in convoys. The attack preparations were thwarted. The outdated nature of the vehicles used in the attack attempt and the completely chaotic and disorganized movements of the Russian forces caused them significant losses. At first glance, you may not see what the FPV drone sees, but upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that it is a Russian unmanned ground vehicle. It was immediately neutralized. Here's another similar unmanned vehicle. Russian forces are attempting to conduct reconnaissance on the front lines with these vehicles. Military antennas installed by Russian forces on trees for communication purposes were rendered inoperable one by Ukrainian forces. Look at the military vehicles Russian soldiers use on the front lines. These vehicles are so old that Russian soldiers are trying to fight on the front lines with them. 2 Ukrainian soldiers waiting in trenches in the Sumy region suddenly encountered a Russian attack. But first, take a close look at the condition of the trenches. A tiny area and a large front to defend. A warning is being relayed to the soldiers via radio about the approaching Russian unit. Ukrainian reconnaissance drones are telling the soldiers in the trenches to be careful. Soon after, the Ukrainian soldiers start firing. Soldiers in the trenches are trying to force Russian soldiers to retreat by increasing the firepower of the various weapons they have at their disposal. Drones now appear to be the primary weapon in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Thousands of drones carry out constant attacks on the front lines every day. Ukrainian forces are aiming to halt the advance of Russian forces by launching increasingly aggressive attacks. At the same time, they are conducting ground operations to drive Russian forces out of the region. With the arrival of winter, Russian forces are strengthening their defensive positions and trying to maintain their presence in the region. But beyond all this, losses on the front are steadily increasing. Russian forces are struggling to bring sufficient ammunition and soldiers to the front. As you can see, the supply routes are constantly under attack by Russian forces. So far, you have seen all the drone attacks. Do you think Russia will be able to take measures against drones? Write your thoughts in the comments.